Blue collar worker here, cautionary story time. Let me tell you how the narc that I married made me have to pay for a $200,000 divorce, and I left with $100,000 in debt and no house or anything big to show for it. But I'm gonna tell you, the price of the divorce was still priceless. I like to compare women to a tree, maybe like a giving tree. And normal men will want to nurture your roots, but a narc will use you up, depleting you in every way possible, and then they will dig up your roots to look for gold.
Women, we were made to be helpmates, and therefore we make the perfect giving tree, or the perfect sucker for the person who wants to dig our gold and nothing else. Stay tuned. I am going to go over the antics of men who want to use you for your finances. It's happening a lot, ladies.
They're out here setting us up to be the perfect fools in love just so they can siphon off of everything that you have and everything that you are. We have to protect ourselves. I'm going to share my own financial disaster of a man's story. It is long. Strap yourselves in, get your popcorn, because it's a dizzying doozy of a ride. But first, I want to lay the groundwork so you understand where I'm coming from, just in case you need to know the divvies up front about a man who will take you for a financial ride. They will devastate you and they will move on and they don't care. So you have to be the one to make sure that you draw a red line, you protect yourself, and you do not become tomorrow's financial disaster and fool that has messed up your money for the rest of your life, and now you have to start all over again. Especially the women who are maybe 10 years out from some sort of a retirement. Oh, you better listen up closely, because they will destroy your retirement too. They don't care. They don't care. All right, listen to this.
So I recently made a post about how poor men will use your money to financially abuse you.
Pause. I'm here to tell you that it doesn't matter if that man has money or not. He could be rich, he could be poor. He still will financially abuse you. And I don't care if he's white, black, yellow, purple, pink, or green.
But let's resume.
And this is where it starts. When women work, they invest 90% of their income back into their families versus men who only invest 35% of their income back into theirs. And that tracks. I loved what Mel Hamlet said. She's the one who first drew my attention to this stat. And she was talking about how men will financially abuse through their hobbies, these super expensive hobbies, specialized running equipment or climbing equipment, fishing, all that sort of thing. Until I became friends with a marathoner, I had no idea how expensive of a hobby that is. I'm here to talk about the flip side about how men will use your own family to financially abuse you. First of all, just on its face, women make less. There is a huge gender pay gap. We don't have to go over it so much. And if you're spending 90% of your lesser salary, that means you're not getting the opportunity to save. You're the one the children are reliant on for all of their needs, while he's stacking cash. I've also noted that it is more common practice for women to put their money into a joint savings or a joint checking account. They'll put all of their money. Men will put a percentage, and women have been taught to feel disproportionate responsibility for the welfare of the family. So if the deal goes down, you feel like you have to save everything. The financial straits get a little tight. Women are now putting 100% of their money into the family, keeping nothing for themselves, and men continue to go on, spending lavishly on themselves or saving for themselves. And when they leave marriage, if they leave marriage, they do it with a firm foundation to start again, whereas divorce ends up impoverishing many women. A huge part of this is entitlement. I've noticed that a woman manages to get a nice new car or a nice house, and her significant other will take credit for it. Oh yes, I bought the house, I bought the car. And people will just automatically believe that because that is what we are used to. And it seems like a small thing. People are going to tell you, oh, don't embarrass him in public. Oh, you both contribute. It doesn't matter who did what. If it didn't matter, he wouldn't be trying to take credit. This is a way of discrediting you in the eyes of the family members so he can lay the foundation to financially abuse you. He's spreading a rumor that he is the provider, not you. So he's going to take your assets and then tell everybody else you don't have any assets. Spend your assets so you will not be able to escape him. It begins with things like him driving your car and claiming it as his own, or inviting a bunch of people over to the house that you bought and, showing off all that you have attained. And it ends with things like him spending your largesse on the family. You get a raise, now he's spending lavishly on gifts for the family, or, showing off for the family. And then when you say, hey, stop that, slow down, he's going to criticize you publicly. He's going to start by doing it privately and saying, oh, stop being so greedy. You make the money for us to enjoy. We're a family. We're a team. Oh, nobody should be having singular control over how the money is spent. Or their absolute favorite. Just because you make the money doesn't mean anything. Men are still the head of the household. So he's going to try to convince you that he should have financial control over your money. At the very least, it's your partner, so everything should be even Steven, and he should have equal access if you're not trying to emasculate him. And then once you give him equal access, he will spend the vast majority of your money. And now you've been put in a situation where you can't speak up, or if you do, a lot of people are not going to believe you because he's laid the foundation to make them believe it's his money. And why are you complaining? So now he's painted you as this harpy, and you'll be left without the very real financial access you need to leave him or to care for your children. The biggest problem a lot of women have after the fact is getting their financials untangled. We've seen this recorded 1,000,000 times in pop culture, and we all know that life imitates art. Movies like Waiting to Exhale or The First Wives Club, where the woman looks in the joint checking account and he has absconded with all of the money, leaving her with pennies. And you have children to care for. That's another way men abuse you, but we'll talk about that another time. So yes, you have the day-to-dayness of children on your plate. So now you're just looking at survival. Whatever pennies he's left you with, you have to try to convert them into food, clothing, shelter. But we're solution oriented around here. So I would say the first thing you need to do if you choose to be with men would be make sure you're dating someone who is at your level or above, and keep your finances entirely separate. If you want to have a joint account, have one for the bills only that you contribute to. Never put your direct deposit in that joint account. Do not commingle your assets. Always have plenty of savings, stocks, bonds, etc. that he has no access to. And if you're saying, I can't afford to do this, you cannot afford to be in that relationship. By being in a relationship where you will automatically be left financially unable to leave, you set yourself up for a bad outcome. It's just the truth. And a lot of women ask, it's a fair question, well, what's the difference between barely making it on my own and barely making it with a man? There's a huge difference. First of all, you know what you do with your money, okay? You know that even in the times that things have been lean, you have made all your bills, you have been as responsible as you could be, and there's no guarantee a partner is going to do that. We all know that men are quite irresponsible when it comes to money. A lot of women say, oh, he would never, but the stats show a lot of them will spend your limited resources on another woman, on toys, games, things like that. You cannot afford to look and feel like the big man. If you want to avoid that outcome, make sure you keep your money separate. And the second thing is, men, patriarchy was built for them, okay? So if you and a man are in the same position in life, he's a loser. Unless you're like Oprah or something. You have had all these, think about what you've overcome as a woman to get where you are. And think about the fact that the man in your position has had none of that to contend with. He is a loser. One of my friends was 8.5 months pregnant with twins, took the bar, passed with flying colors, and she's a black woman, and there was a white man in the same circumstances who was just like, I can't take it anymore, and just left the bar exam. What a loser. Sir, you've been handed this opportunity on a silver platter. It was teed up for you. Nothing like, what hardship have you had? And here's a woman facing tremendous physiological and other issues to get to this point, and did it like it was nothing. The system already favors men, so don't you allow yourself to be taken advantage of in a way that favors them as well. Like and follow for more.
Testing, testing, 1, 2, 3. Oh, hey, you guys, I got a new microphone. I hope that it works really well and you can hear everything I say. I can tell you this. I, for one, am really, really appreciative of my job. I work a lot, a lot. I'd like a day off. I hardly take a day off because I have so many bills to pay. And why do I have so many bills to pay? Well, yeah, I'm an American, and yeah, inflation, and yeah, we pay for a lot. I get that. But that's not the reason why I have a lot of bills. I have a lot of bills because I have an ex-husband. And, contrary to popular male belief, the reason why I have an ex-husband is not because I was a crappy wife. It's because he was a crappy dude. Now, how many women can agree with me that their exes are crappy? I know. There are a few of us that are crappy women, but I am one of them women of the ilk that if I am good to you, then you should be good to me. And the world is full of good people. And as long as you're a good person, then everything will be okay. And I'm going to tell you something. Nope. And another nope. So I come from a nice family.
Pause again. And so I think that being nice is a problem, and it's a precursor to a setup for a fall for disaster, because nice guys do finish last. Nice girls finish last as well. So what I think that people should focus more on in a family and bringing up your kids and things like that is you can teach your kids to be cordial. You can teach your kids to be courteous and civil, but that doesn't mean that they also have to take people's crap. So that means stopping a person in their place and drawing some boundaries and saying exactly how you feel so that somebody else can understand. I might be kind to you right now, but you are pushing a boundary that I do not mind fully backing up. That's why I say I'm nice, but you can still get these hands. You understand?
Now back to the show.
And I was a good girl. I mean, but you can still catch these hands. But my man, he wasn't catching no hands. So I learned that that's not always the best way to go. I came across one of the worst kind of people that you can come across. And this particular individual was a man who completely was how do you call it, very difficult person to deal with. He was a manipulative, conniving, absolute asshole jerk. And he knew that he was all of the above because um, he used to say that, well, if I'm a dick, and no, he used to say asshole, put it that way. So um, I used to say that he was a dick, and he used to say, well, dick, asshole, something like that. I don't know. It loses its luster. I am really terrible at telling jokes. So there you go. But long story short, the problem in my marriage stemmed from a lot of different things, that of which I will not even get into. I will not get into right now. I will get into the financial aspect because I started talking about bills, and we're going to stay there. So if you haven't noticed by now, if you've been in a relationship, then your finance status is important. I'm not going to get into why different women get men, why men get women, but I'm here to tell you that I came to the relationship no debt, a little bit of money in the bank, and completely like cool. I wasn't relying on him. I made my own money, and everything was copacetic. And him, on the other hand, I thought that he had, a lot. I bet you that's some young person, some young whippersnapper who wants to show off his stuff. And that's why his stuff is backfiring now. But anyway, golly, it's still backfiring this far away. So anyway, yes. So my ex. So on the outside, he looked really good. He had a nice house. He drove a nice car. He had a nice job. He wore nice clothes. He was top of the food chain at his job. And so, of course, he had money, right? Little did I find out that he would definitely be the biggest mistake of my entire life. And when I say the biggest mistake, I mean hands down the most expensive mistake of my life. The mistake that not only ruined me financially, because he actually said he was going to do that anyway, but also the reason why I would have to pay for the rest of my life into stuff and pay big bucks after the divorce. And I am going to go ahead and get into that now because I have a very big cautionary tale. So this guy, he had money. I actually saw his bank account. You know, he has money in it. Fine. There was some bank account statements that came in with his ex's name on it. And then there were some bank account statements that came in with his mother's name on it. And I thought that was weird, but whatever. We wasn't married at the time. And then he had a bank account statement that was his alone. Well, this guy was a grade A narcissist. Okay. And there's a reason why I'm not featured, my face is not featured on this channel and will not be. And it's because I'm going to talk about him. And I'm going to talk about everybody else that I used to date. And I'm going to talk about my family. And I'm going to talk about my friends. No, I'm just kidding. I won't go that deep. It's to like talk crap about them and everything like that. And I won't use no names. But you can understand this story, okay? So, my ex was a grade A narc. And if anybody has ever dealt with a narc, and I mean a real narc, I don't mean one of them fly by, oh, you know, they got a complex about them. I mean a grade A narc. So this guy knew how to use your money, his money, everybody else's money. And he never seemed to be at odds with anything. Meaning he always seemed to have money. He was always flush with his. And I didn't learn until later on is because he's always using somebody else's money. And he uses his money for whatever he wanted. He was very irresponsible with his money. So we never got a bank account together because I could definitely see that from the outside. But I didn't know how he was going to start using my money. So I got with this guy and I thought that it was pretty cool that I didn't need him to pay my car note. He never offered to pay my car note either. He never offered to pay for my insurance. He never offered to buy my clothes. He never offered to buy me food in his house. Sometimes he would go grocery shopping and get a few things or whatever, but I like my things and I would go grocery shopping. You think that he would break me off some bread for to go grocery shopping, especially if I'm going to be cooking in his house, but he never did. He never did when we got married either. He never paid my phone bill. He never paid for my car to get clean. He never changed a tire and paid for that from out of his pocket. He never paid for any of my maintenance for my car or anything. He never paid for my hair to get done. But he expected me to look a certain kind of way. He never paid for any of my outfits. He didn't even pay for trips that we went on. Most of the time, I would pay full price for everything. He would reimburse me sometimes, and sometimes he wouldn't. Sometimes the thing would be, okay, well, you know, you have the spending money. And then he would always have a problem with the spending money.
Now, I know by now you're probably thinking I am the fool for going along with this whole process. And let me tell you, it was not by choice. This was an insidious thing. So it went on and on and on over a period of time before I could realize what was going on. And by that time, I was already maybe about a year into it. And I started asking for things. You know, I come from having a relationship where my ex paid for everything. I didn't have to want for anything. Yeah, I paid for my car note and my phone bill, but at the same time, my dude used to just drop me off hundreds of dollars from out of his pocket. Like that really does exist out there, ladies. You have a man that wants to take care of you, that wants to shower you with everything that you want and more, things that you never thought that you needed, never thought that you wanted, never thought was even possible because you are surrounded by a landfill of nothing but dusty bunnies all around. But I'm going to tell you, there are men out there that will take care of you, and there are men out there that will be wonderful. But my guy who used to do all of that stuff, I loved him so much. He just didn't want kids. And that was a deal breaker for me. So the next guy that I got with, seriously, was this idiot. And it's because, number one, he said that he wanted to have kids. He said he wanted to have a long-term relationship. He said that, I can move into his house, and I had never lived in a house so big. I never lived in a place that had so much land. Everything was beautiful. Even the trees, it was really, really nice, but I didn't know that it came with a catch. I didn't know that it was basically a glamour spell on my eyeballs and my senses. And yeah.
Okay, so yes, I am getting my oil changed, and I'm just really happy to get my oil changed. And I had to go and pay for it, and I had a light out. I knew something was wrong on the road when I was driving. I couldn't really see, and I was like, "Is my light on? Are my lights on?" But anyway, so back to me making the most expensive mistake of my life and getting married. Nobody else is in the car with me but my groceries. So that's what that is. So yeah, I got married, and he was the absolute worst mistake of my life. I ended up paying dearly for that. So I'm a person I'm a very giving person. So I like to spoil my man. I like to give my man stuff. I like to make sure that he looks a certain kind of way. I will buy the look. I like bling. When we got married, I got him a custom diamond ring with silver because, we're Muslim, and I'm Muslim. He wasn't. That was another mistake. And, but I got a sterling silver ring with, diamonds in it. Very nice diamonds. And, what else? But yeah, and he lived really far. He lived like 50 miles away from me, almost 50 miles, 49.9 miles away from the house that I used to live in, and over 30 miles away from my job. So, I had to pay a lot of money to go back and forth to work. So he increased my bill by the drive. He increased my bill by simply just having him because, I got him this, that, and other. And look, I make a little bit of money. And, I mean, I'm not broke is what I'm saying. So I had a little bit of extra money so I can buy my man, blah, 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 right? And, I also used to throw parties. And so I would find myself paying for that. We had IVF, and I paid for that. And the agreement was, if I pay for the IVF, then I can live in the house and not pay for the mortgage. I had an apartment though that I was paying $1,100 to live in that I wasn't living in for like an entire year before we actually had, officially moved in together, in which he was not present for because he was gone in the military for his military training. So he wasn't there to help me with any of the big stuff. He wasn't there to help me with the move in at all. He wasn't there to help me with the move out either. And so just like everything's just like adding up how much free stuff this guy got off of me. And with like the IVF that we had to go through, that cost over $25,000. I took out a $15,000 loan. I had some money in the bank that I went ahead and I used. And then everybody who does IVF knows that you also have to order the drugs. The drugs can cost you $500 a day because you need different drugs and you got to sit there and you got to mix them all and then you got to give yourself those shots. So I was looking like a straight heroin fiend or addict or something like that with some sort of a problem when I just laid out all of my medicine and my medicine vials and having to put them together and shake this and then, put this needle in there and stab it here in my tummy and, all kinds of stuff. I had to do a lot. It was a lot. And so I paid for that too. And then every day or every other day, you have to go for ultrasound. I paid my co-pays for that, which was like $25 each and every time that I went, which was like 3 or 4 times a week. And so I paid for that. And so I paid. He only gave $3,000 towards it. That's all I asked for because I was being naive. I thought that the $3,000 would help, and it didn't. It was a very small dent in how much money this actually cost. I actually stopped counting after it got to $25,000. So it probably cost more than that. I didn't do the math to figure it out. Um, and so there's that. And then we ended up having a miscarriage with that baby, and then we did natural cycle IVF. We did 3 rounds of that, and on the 3rd one, we had twins. After the babies was born, he didn't pay for child care. He didn't pay for their clothes. He didn't pay for a crib. He didn't pay for strollers. He didn't pay for anything besides 2 or 3 little outfits that he got from the Goodwill. And he thought that that was pretty cool to get. And he just was really happy to have the kids in those little things, those little onesies. And then, of course, they grow out of it so daggone fast. They'll throw up all over it. You can't keep them on for a little bit of time. And I also was doing all of that stuff mainly by myself when I was raising the children. And for whatever reason, he was tired. And I was the one breastfeeding and taking care of his kids while he thought that I just had it golden and easy. I don't even know how, but he would say he's tired and he has to go to bed. He wasn't the one that was staying up with them kids at all. Not at all. Except for that one night that I got into a car accident and almost died because he wasn't helping me take care of the kids, and I got into a car accident because I fell asleep behind the wheel and flipped and almost died. But we're not going to talk about that right now. We're still talking about how much money this cost me. So we had to have a nanny, and the nanny, we paid her $400 a week, but then we had to have a backup nanny too, and then I worked overtime on the weekend, so I had to pay that nanny some money too, so that was an extra sometimes $150 a week. And then my mother had to come and move in with us to help us out, so that was another $100 a week. And guess who was paying all of that? I was. I think he paid for no more than about $1,400 in the entire 2 years, first 2 years of their lives, literally. And they're 8 now, and so you can imagine how much debt I'm in. But yeah, so he didn't help out with that. So we're talking an average of about $600 off rip to have to pay for child care for the kids. And he still didn't buy no bottles, no formula, no food, no clothes, no nothing for neither the kids nor me. And I was like, look, dude, you got these kids for free, and this is expensive, and I need some money, But he had a problem with all that, and did not give me much of anything. And then he went active duty. But before he went active duty, he lost his job, basically, and he didn't have an income coming in. So I said, okay, well, since you're going to go active duty, I'll pay for as much stuff as I can, and I'll cover as much stuff as I can but you still gonna need to pay for this mortgage. So mind you, I'm still paying for the loan, the $15,000 loan that I took out for the first IVF that I lost the baby. And then the other 3 cycles I paid for cash out of pocket. Because I was working and I got overtime and stuff. And so I went ahead and I paid for everything that way. And then, so when the kids was born and I had to pay that $600 a week, now this is when life really hit me in the face. Because after having to pay for so much stuff and everything, those was a one-off. But this right here was a reoccurring $600 that I had never knew that I could even pay, let alone need to pay for the rest of God knows when for these kids. And so I'm like, look, you need to help with this, that, and the other. But then he loses his job. So I'm like, okay, well, what am I going to do? So I have to work more overtime, which means that I need to pay more nannies more money. And guess what? Nannies call out. You got to get a backup nanny. The backup nanny want full price for this and she don't want no salary per week. Backup nanny want $15, $20 an hour. So I had to make a choice about whether or not I wanted to work or whether or not I wanted to call out, because who has money to pay $20 an hour? Who has it? I mean, I could pay maybe a couple of hours, $15, but $20 an hour, and somebody done called out and I got an 8-hour shift, but I need 10 hours to do it because I gotta drive there and then drive back. I gotta drive there, serve my 8 hours, and then drive back. Who has money for that? Not me. Because the last I checked, I'm blue collar. I don't make that much money. I don't make that much money. I make a little bit of money, but I mean, come on now. So I did a lot of calling out. And sometimes, I had to definitely be there because it was like, like everybody had to work, lottie-dottie. This is when we make our money, so have to work. And so it was just really expensive. It was really expensive. And then when I asked him for some money, because I told him, I said, hey, like now I'm like $20,000 in debt. Whereas when I first met you, I didn't have no debt. Even when I first had the kids, no debt. We're married, by the way. We're all the way married. And now I'm $20,000 in debt. And I've never been $20,000 in debt. This is new territory for me. My mom gets sick, she gotta go. I gotta rely on other people to help me with the kids.
Then I had to hire more help to fill in the gaps where she was, and that cost me $400 more a month.
And he's away. You know what this dude tell me? You're irresponsible with your money. He told me that I was irresponsible with my money, and he did not believe that I needed him to chip in. I said, I'm gonna need you to give at least $700-800 a month. Like, come on now, because my entire paycheck was going to these babysitters. Like, I was working maybe 40, 50 hours of overtime, and all of it, I was making pennies on a dollar, literally pennies on a dollar. And I was making like $30 or $33 an hour. So I wasn't making nothing. I mean, like, in the grand scheme of things, somebody would be more than happy to have my job. But when you're shelling out that much money, I was shelling out $700-800 a week just in childcare. And we're talking about after tax money. We're talking about after tax money. So after I got paid, and after all of the benefits done come off my check, and after I done paid Uncle Sam everything, then I get what I get. And then I have to pay that money out for childcare. So that's why a lot of women just stay home. Because who has that? I was getting maybe about $2,300 on a check. $2,300 on each check. That's what I was getting. But I was shelling out like $1,600-1,800 in childcare. At the most I was paying about $900. Don't let it be a freaking holiday. premium prices for that. So, yeah, it costs a lot of money. And these are bills that he didn't pay. These are things that he didn't help me with. And I was being, according to him, irresponsible with my money. So, long story short, he comes home and there's a lot of issues. A lot of issues. He's having his issues and everything, reacclimating, coming back home, which meant that I couldn't get rid of the nanny, which meant that I couldn't count on him to take care of the kids. And we had more nanny fees. More nanny fees. And then this dude decided he thought that it was funny to be home and have a nanny. He thought that he was going to get away. And he thought that he thought I was still going to pay for a nanny. I was like, nah, son, you home. Come on, pay for that. Every time I turn around, he go to pay the nanny, but he didn't get out enough money from the ATM. He needed me to cover blah, blah, blah. No, dude, I know that you didn't pay jack squat around this house. I did all of that. While you was gone, I paid for these kids. You got these kids for free. Come on now, you got me for free. I feel like a damn slave around here. No, you pay for this nanny since you're home and you can't or won't pay for the kids with childcare. I was done. I was done doing that. Well, little did I know that he had a huge, plan up his sleeve. And, then I'm also dealing with the babysitter from care.com, making googly eyes at my ex and thinking that thinking that she was going to take my place. And I had to sit this little girl down. And I had to tell her, look, if you think that you're going to replace me, I'm going to take all his money with me. So you ain't going to have nothing. He's going to have to pay a whole lot of money. Whatever plan that you have going on, you're not going to replace me as mama. What the hell's wrong with you? But that's a story for another time. So anyway, um, yeah. So long story short, we ended up having a separation. Okay. And then you learn just how much people who are nomads or live on the fly or homeless have to pay. I had to pay a lot of money. I had to pay a lot of money. Not only did I have to pay for a place, but I also had to pay for more gas. I had my car, well, I was having car issues, so I had to get another car, which meant that I had to trade in the car. It was a lot. I went through $10,000 in like a month and a half. I had to get a whole new place, and I had to sleep on the floor for 6 straight months. Because we had to furnish this place because this guy wouldn't give me none of my stuff out from the house. He changed the locks on the house, and I couldn't get into the marital home. And so I lived out of my car for a little while. I lived with friends in a room for a little while. I stayed on people's couches. And when I say I mean me and my twins. And then from there, I had to pay for all those nanny fees. I had to pay for now. I found a home daycare, which was great because everything was central and she helped me out with my overtime as well. And, I had to find a new nanny, of course, and a new backup nanny. And, that cost a lot of money. And so I had to pay for all that. Meanwhile, I also had to pay for my clothes, the kids' clothes, the kids' new beds, the kids, okay? I shelled out at least $4,000 a month on the kids. Just the kids. Not everything else. So I shelled out about $4,000 on the kids. About $400 in clothes every 2 weeks because my kids is two kids, two different sizes, two rates of growth, um, two different needs, and they were always growing. Oh my God. I had to literally buy like 2 and 3 wardrobes of clothes for my kids. And so all of you deadbeat dads out there, I have no sympathy for you. You all can literally go to hell with all your excuses of why you didn't break your baby mama or ex-wife off more money because it's BS, and then want to sit up there and well, that's my kid anyway, and they gonna have a relationship with me, and you can't stop me. Yeah, but you are not honorable. You're a piece of crud. That's what you are, a piece of crud. And my ex included. You know why? Because yeah, he paid for child support, but guess what he also did? Every other week, I was in court. In 6 years, I have no less than 60 court appearances that I had to make and that I had to pay for. 60. 60. Each one something different, each one something trifling, each one something malicious. How's it? It was, look, he would lie. Okay, put it that way. He would lie, and I would have to come and answer for his lies. And I would have to prove myself innocent. And this went on for 6 straight years. Back and forth to court. That doesn't include all of the paperwork back and forth with lawyers. That doesn't include the times that he will coordinate pickups and drop offs and did not show up for the kids. So we would do all this coordinating for 2 and 3 hours that cost me at least $1,200, not between $900 and $1,200 coordinating between lawyers, because I couldn't talk to this guy because every time I turned around he would say that he was going to kill me. And I do have a recording of that. I'll put that in somewhere else. Stay tuned to this. So anyway, yeah, he cost me a lot of money. I was shelling out $3,000 to $5,000 a month in court fees, and every time there was a trial, I would have to shell out about $3,000 simply for the trial. And I was in court twice a month, so those months I was shelling out, like $6,000 or more. And for custody and support, I shelled out $27,000 in the end for that. I shelled out over $130,000 for my divorce. I shelled out another 60 to 70, and it's still climbing, $1,000 for my now appeal. And I also still have legal counsel that I have to make because he is causing me more court dates that I have to go to. And now this guy also gets child support because he lied in court and they believed him with his white privilege, and he took the kids away from me. Do you think he's doing a good job with the kids and by the kids and for the kids? Yeah, no, that's not happening. So my appeal can't come fast enough. And I pray for the safety of my children all the time. And he is not a good dad. And he is not taking care of them. And they are in a bad state, in a bad way. But I have to pay this guy for child support. But you know what? I pay him $1,200 for child support. And that is dramatically less money than I've had to pay since they were born. I'm not going to say that I enjoy it because he also moved 800 miles away, which means that I also have to pay out another $2,000 to $3,000 a month to go and see my children. So my expenses haven't changed. So I've had to also borrow so much money. So I borrowed a total of about $81,000, and those are different loans. And so with those different loans, I pay an average of $1,000 a month. No, it's actually more than that because I pay $550 for the $25,000 loan. I pay $679 for the $30,000 loan. And I pay $525 a month for the credit card bill that I ran up $23,000. And then I pay another $300 for another credit card bill that's about $13,000 on that. And then I have one other credit card bill that's about $7,000 and another credit card bill that's about $6,500. And those two other cards I pay an average of $320 a month on combined. $320 plus $679 plus $550 plus another $550 basically. So like $525. But yeah, those are my bills. So that's just on credit. That's just loans and credit. Like the loan, yeah. One loan, $25,000, I pay $550. One loan, $679 every month. One loan, one credit card bill is $550. Another credit card bill is $13,300 a month. And then I have two credit cards that total over $13,000 or whatever. And those total a little over $300 a month. So yeah, yep, yep. So yeah, that's a lot of money every month. That's just on those bills. We haven't factored in my car that I'm putting a lot of miles on just to go and see my kids. And we also haven't factored in we haven't factored in food. We haven't factored in transportation. We haven't factored in insurances. We haven't factored in medical bills, medical fees. We haven't factored in my makeup or hair care or the children's hair care because even though they're with him, he doesn't do anything for them. I always have to cut my son's hair and I have to do my daughter's hair. I also have to buy them clothes almost every time I see them. I have to wash their clothes because they stink and they're just unkempt. I have to take them to the doctors for different things. So yeah, it costs me a lot of money. I've gone down and flew them back. I don't have it. I don't have it. I had a little bit of money from settlement that I was pension off of, and I have I have my overtime at work. I look like I got money. I move like I got money, but I ain't got no money. I'm broke. I cannot afford to buy a house. I pay a lot of money every month just so I could see my children, and I do pay child support for my children. And I thought that when I made as much money as I make right now, that I would be living like the Joneses, but I'm not. I can't afford to take a vacation. Everything that I have that's extra, it's not even really extra, but everything that I have that I can afford to put aside, I do, and I use that on my children. And the reason why my credit card bills are so high is because when I see them, of course, if they ask me for X, Y, and Z, I get them X, Y, and Z. That's what I do. Because I feel like I owe that to them because they're my babies, number one. And I would bend over backwards for them to give them everything that I didn't have when I was growing up and everything that I did have when I was growing up and to make up a little bit for the time that I don't get to see them. I don't really care about the money. Money is a utilitarian thing for me. I care about being able to do what I need to do and be comfortable with what I'm doing. So I don't mourn the loss of money or even the usage of money. I mourn my time with my children. And I've never been able to have peace since even before they were born. And I get angry at myself for not leaving and just going off to the fertility doctor and just having kids on my own. I wouldn't have this problem. I thought that I could have a nuclear family, and I thought that it would be great that my kids had a dad. But now I see I was wrong. And I know that my children are not well taken care of. And that hurts. And so my ex was more than just a the biggest financial mistake that I've ever made in my life. He also was the biggest emotional mistake that I've ever had in my life. And that said something when you were a little girl growing up in places that I had to grow up in and people that I came across and some of the situations that I was in. It says a lot. Um, I do not condone swirling. I don't. I do not condone swirling. I do not condone getting married to somebody that looks good on paper and has PTSD. I don't. I don't care how much money they have. If they've been in the military and they've seen war and they got PTSD in any sort of way, I say you better stay away from them. And I know some pretty stand-up awesome people who have PTSD, but they're women, not men. Us ladies, we're good if you just, treat us right, cuddle with us, hold me if I get scared. Men, it's scary when they have PTSD and they react violently and differently. It can get a little ugly. Very touch and go. I do not recommend it. So yeah, there's that. Men can be a very huge financial mistake. And I know that firsthand. My first husband was a huge mistake too, but all in all, it was cool. But this one was diabolical. One time, I remember I was shelling out a whole lot of money. I was shelling out maybe about $500 to $600 a week. You heard me say that for childcare. But after my mom had left, and then ultimately she got weak and passed away, my bills then went up to $700 to $900 a month. Excuse me, not a month, a week. And then it got to the point where I just had to start like calling out and taking off. And it was cheaper to have a day off than it was to call in a babysitter and work. Um, and I still hear it to this day, even though it's years later on. My kids are almost 9, and back then there was babies like 1 year old and 2 years old. Just hearing him say I was financially irresponsible with my money. I haven't been able to enjoy my money since my kids have been born. I love my children, love them to pieces. I have not been able to enjoy my money and most of my time because if he hadn't have been such a bitch, then I could have laid and slept okay without having to sleep with one eye open when we had our separation. So I could have been calm and comfortable for my children and with my children and in my life. I haven't been able to enjoy a day unless I make it a priority to do just that. And then I have to sometimes fight my own head. The loneliness that I feel when I don't have my children. I had my children every day for 7.5 years, and then with his white privilege, he just swoop in and take them because he wants to claim them on his taxes. Said that I wasn't sharing, and I'm like, well, you caused me so much money, I don't understand, and I had full custody of the children, so I don't understand why I needed to give him one of the kids to claim for tax purposes. If I'm paying for everything, I don't understand. I hope that one of them dollars is blessed that he gets for what he did to me all these years. But yeah, the biggest financial mistake was a man. Don't have kids with the wrong person. That's for sure. That was my number one mistake. Because, like, this could have cost me financially, yes, but I could have recovered from it. But since I had children with the wrong man, and this man took me through all kinds of hell while we were separated, and all kinds of hell through weaponizing the court system against me. And then, in the end, ensuring that I was laced with so many bills. And then, having to pay for child support, and then having to pay thousands of dollars just to see my children every month, so they never forget that I am their mom, and parent over and then just knowing that they're there, and knowing that they're being mistreated, and knowing that everything that I know is fucking diabolical. The emotional fucking toll. The financial toll, yes, but god damn, he gonna get his. And when he does, I'm not gonna celebrate. I just want my kids back for real. Leave me alone. Take your karma and go sit down over in the corner somewhere and suck on yourself. Get my kids back. That's all I care about. But yeah, he might think he ruined me financially, but I'm still here. I might be able to. I might have to skip some things that like I had before. Like I can't buy all the stuff that I wanted to buy like before. Like I would have all of these packages all over the place, unopened and everything. Buy whatever I want to buy. I can't do that no more. I do my hair different. I do my hair myself. I might make some clothes and different things like that myself instead of getting some things on Etsy or whatever, because I have a unique kind of personality when it comes to things. I don't buy real jewelry no more. I buy fake jewelry. That's okay. That opened up a huge, wide plethora of things for me to buy and do. Whereas before with real jewelry, I was only limited to what I could afford at the time with that paycheck. But now with fake jewelry, yeah, I would not. It's all about the way you look at it. I do not recommend getting married to the wrong man. I do not recommend getting married to a narc. I do not recommend getting married to a man who has PTSD in any sort of way. And I advise people to go ahead and make sure that you definitely shield yourself from financial harms that your partner could bring. Just think about if we had a bank account together and my check was going into that account and I'd never have access to it. Y'all stupid if y'all do that. Have a household account. Don't have a whole account with both y'all checks go in there. I'm telling you, don't do it. Alright, enough of that. Until next time.